Mike Flanagan's Dr. Sleep is an adaptation of the Stephen King novel of the same name, while also being a sequel to Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, also adapted from the novel by Stephen King. The gist of the story is, in the years following the events of The Shining, a now adult Dan Torrance meets a young girl with similar powers called Abra Stone, as he tries to protect her from a cult known as the True Knot, led by Rose the Hat, who prey on children with powers in order to remain immortal. Following Stanley Kubrick's classic is a tall order for anyone, but here, Mike Flanagan does a pretty stellar job. He does it by not even attempting to make a film with the same tone and visual style as Kubrick's film, but instead he makes a warm, heartfelt Mike Flanagan film, not too dissimilar from his TV show, The Haunting of Hill House. Dr. Sleep is chock full of themes we've seen in his previous works, notably the idea of confronting childhood trauma, which we see in the character of Dan Torrance, who's played marvellously by Ewan McGregor. We meet Danny in a very broken place at the start of the film. He's drowning his pain in alcohol and running away from his past experiences. It's a testament to the story that the film allows us to spend so much time with the character. Before the main plot even kicks in, we watch him grow and develop in so many ways. Even in that first act, the journey he goes through is incredibly heartfelt, as he finds newfound purpose in his life through working as an orderly. It's a film about sobriety and overcoming personal demons. Notable new characters include Abra. Again, we spend a lot of time getting to know the character. We get a sense of her family life, her discovering of her powers, the subsequent growth of them, and eventual emotional connection with Danny. She's played magnificently by relative newcomer Kyliegh Curran. There's a stubbornness and a capability to the character that could have easily been overplayed by any other child actor, but she handles it impeccably. The film surprisingly dedicates a lot of time to its villains, the True Knot. Each of the members feel distinct, and there's a familial structure within them that reminded me of films such as Catherine Bigelow's Near Dark. They're played with such normalcy, their dialogue and interplay are so natural that they just feel like normal people. But as you're lulled into a false sense of security, the film does well to remind you that they are essentially hungry, ravenous animals, in case you've forgotten the opening scene. It's a wonderful balance of fearing them but also understanding them. At their centre is the standout of the cast, Rebecca Ferguson's Rose the Hat. It's a very multifaceted character. She's vulnerable, alluring, playful, caring, but also cunning, fierce, and dangerous. Ferguson plays it all with such confidence and proficiency. It might be my favourite role of hers thus far. For its first two acts, the film is largely character driven. It's very well paced, and Flanagan handles the character intricacies in a way that feels very natural. Watching it does equate to that feeling of reading a Stephen King novel. It manages to cast such a wide, yet intimate canvas that feels textured. It's very much unlike Kubrick's The Shining, which will probably rub some people the wrong way. Dr. Sleep is warm and driven by emotions, but I feel as though for the most part, it stands on its own right, while also honouring what came before. The film acts more as a thriller than a horror. The scenes of the True Knot hunting are incredibly tense. There's one particularly disturbing one that sent chills down my spine. The film also includes numerous sequences that take place in characters' minds. They're well visualised and smartly edited, making for some entertaining set pieces. However, the film does stumble in its third act, where the shining elements are at their most overt. Some aspects are well handled, such as the use of the Overlook Hotel, and returning to familiar locations. The elements of nostalgia that didn't work for me were a few of the direct recreations of scenes from Kubrick's film. While some expand on Danny's trauma, others feel unnecessary and cheap, acting more as a wink and a nudge, saying, "Hey, remember this? It's from this scene, which we'll show you now, but not as good." There's recasting of roles from the original, again most which work, but one really doesn't and pulls you out of the film. There's a loss of focus on the character elements in service of paying homage that threatens to buckle the film. However, it does still manage to be a fairly entertaining third act, and the character arcs manage to squeeze through to the final scenes of the film to stick the landing. In the end, Dr. Sleep is a great film, filled to the brim with strong characterization and compelling villains, notably Rebecca Ferguson's Rose the Hat, who explodes on screen with charisma. Overall, it's well paced, superbly acted, and beautifully directed. Despite a weaker third act, the film is an experience worth having and stands on its own as a sequel to The Shining.